This segment of Naperville Sports Weekly is brought to you in part by the Naperville Sun.
Coach Schilf, super sectional champions, 4-1 victory over Richards. How's all that sound to you?
Sounds pretty fantastic. I mean, it's been the girls' goal all year long. I've been preaching to them to make them believe, and now that it happened, it's kind of hard for me to believe.
A couple of the girls were saying they were intimidated going up against a 32-2 favorite. How do you think they got past that?
I think they were just a little bit nervous. Once we got to that first inning and left runners on base, I think it calmed them down a little bit. I think being the home team helped a little bit, knowing we'd always have a chance to recover. But we've got a lot of seniors who played a lot of games for us. We have 4 starters who started for 4 years straight, so they give us a lot of stability.
A couple of the innings early on, it was back and forth, runners on second and third. Allison did a nice job in the circle, getting out of the innings with the defensive help. How important was that to the success of the game?
Well, it's been huge, and actually, early on in the sectionals and regionals, we've had situations like that where we needed an out or a hold by her in the first inning. We got runners on base. Be able to get out of that first inning with runners in second and third, even though she only needed to get one out, was huge. Came back in the second, had to do the same thing all over again. The difference between us now and maybe us 4 weeks ago is that Allison is shutting people down when mistakes happen. Whereas maybe 5-6 weeks ago, we'd make an error and she'd give up a base hit. That's not happening now.
It's also a young defense, 2 freshmen on the left side, a sophomore left fielder. How's the youth kind of helped the Red Wings along the way?
Well, we're pretty balanced to some extent. I mean, we're top heavy with seniors. We got 6 seniors, but we've got 5 underclassmen starting. We've got a very experienced catcher behind the plate. We've got 2 freshmen at short and second with Worka and Panko that don't play like freshmen. I mean, Panko came up with a big hit, to give us the lead, actually twice yesterday. She went deep in the hole to make a great play. Julianne goes, to her right to make a great play yesterday. They don't play like they're freshmen. They play like they've been here all their lives.
You talk about the big hits. Benet scored first. Richards comes back and ties it. What was going through your mind at that point in the game? Did you think, hey, we'll pick it up, we'll get the next run?
Well, once we shut them down, I thought that way. I was a little nervous once they scored that run and they had runners on third. Are we going to break? I mean, are we going to hold it or not? I had confidence that Allison can get it done. She's able to make the pitches. And, being the home team, Michaela got on base right away, and a little sister, drove her in, and it was like bang, bang, bang. Before another, we got 3 runs on the board. But yeah, I mean, I thought that was huge once we got out of that inning. Even though I think they thought the momentum was going their way when they tied it up, I really thought the momentum was going our way because we prevented them from going ahead.
You brought up the sectional a little bit earlier. A big win over Naperville North, avenging a loss earlier this season, 1-0. What was different this time around?
We hit the ball. I think that's just confidence. We hit the ball, and they scored 1 run off us both games. The difference is we scored 10 the second time. We've been hitting the ball with authority. Every game you can count 3-4 doubles, and it's anybody. From 1 through 9, everyone on this team contributes.
Talk about the doubles. I think you set a record this year.
Yeah, I think we're up to 111 now. So the old record, I think, was by O'Fallon of 106. That's pretty amazing. The thing that amazes me even more is when you look at it, I mean, there's probably not 5 teams within 20 doubles of where we're at, and we're not done yet. But a lot of that has to go with just the kind of hitting team we have. I mean, we're not a singles team. We're a team that puts the ball in the gap, and I really stress, having them hit the ball hard, hit it with authority. And we've got some strong kids, and they do. I mean, you got Julianne and Maeve who are leading the parade in doubles, but we've got a bunch of kids, 10 to 15 doubles apiece, and they just put the ball in play but hit it hard.
So much hitting kind of depends on the pitching as well. You faced a great one against Richards and LeBeau. How was the approach maybe different going up against that changeup?
Well, it was hard, and she threw more changeups than we even expected. I mean, we knew she had a good changeup. We kind of thought she'd come with the screwball a little bit more. She relied more on that changeup, and the more trouble we had, the more she threw it. And although we got a couple hits, most of our hits early on were not on the changeup. It wasn't until Marissa, held back and hit that double in the 6th inning to really pound the ball that someone actually hit the ball with authority the changeup wise. It's difficult when you don't face a pitcher like that at all the entire season. You face a kid who maybe throws a changeup, 1 out of every 7, 8, 9 pitches. This kid was throwing a changeup every other pitch, if not every pitch. So she did a great job, and they're going to be strong next year. We just had enough, though.
In the sectional championship, shutout win over Downers Grove South.
Yeah.
Stats dominant on the mound with some timely hitting.
I'm still amazed by that one, too, especially when we got Mercer up with runners on second and third and no outs, and we were able to get out of the jam with their 1, 2, and 3 hitters. I think it really sent a message that, Allison's for real. And, that's probably, obviously, yesterday's game against Richards is the biggest win of our, lives here, careers here. But, that game against Downers Grove South was definitely one of the bigger wins of the year, and it's something I didn't expect to happen that way. I expected to win, but not 5-0.
Well, Stats has definitely been solid. We'll go way back now. Earlier in the season, a 10-2 loss to Naperville Central, only your third loss of the year. But do you think it might have sent a message that, hey, we have to go out and play every day or we'll get beat?
We had a fundraiser going on that day, and the kids did a great job. I was really proud of them, but we really weren't focused, and Naperville Central was. To some extent, they've kind of had our number the last few years, knocked us out of the playoffs the previous 2 years. Wonderlick's a great pitcher. We weren't ready, and maybe that did send a message a little bit, but, and you would think, playing a fellow Naperville school, they'd be ready to go. Well, that was actually, we ended up losing all 3 Naperville schools early on, and it wasn't until later on we decided to turn it on. But, yeah, I don't know if that was the big turning point there. I think it was an eye-opener to some extent, but we still had a lot of work to do.
Definitely a tough loss early, but you've strung tons of wins together since then.
Yeah.
You've had some good teams over the years. 04 and 05 sectional champs, 31 wins in 09.
Right.
Where does this team rank amongst those?
Well, I think from top to bottom, they're as good as any team that's ever played here. Definitely from 1 through 9, they're better than anybody that's ever been here. Are they best at every position? No. I think, but as a team, they're as solid as anybody. And obviously, they're the only team to ever make it downstate. They've got to be the best team that's ever played here. The teams in 04 and 05 that won, the sectional and went to extra innings against Lake Park. Those were great teams. We had a great pitcher, on the mound for us at that time with Lauren Rowan. We had a great nucleus, of that class too, of a freshman class. We had 5 freshmen come in and they stuck together. 2 years ago when Eastman, was our pitcher and she was Conference Player of the Year and we won 31 games. That was a great team as far as chemistry. Not that this team doesn't have chemistry, it does, without a doubt. But that was a team that was strictly built on chemistry because the talent was okay, but a lot of it was young. This team, we've got experience as well as, youth. We're strong defensively. We're as good as anybody, I think. We've got as good a center fielder as anybody with Michaela. She just goes and gets the ball. Our infield has been very, very strong for us. Our catcher, hardly anybody steals against her. We've got a solid pitcher with Allison, that we think we can ride to the state championship. So, I can't find any knocks on this team.
Finding the consistency on offense and defense so important. What do they need to do downstate to be successful against Moline?
Just be themselves. Don't try to do too much. Learn fast. We're not going to have probably this kind of scouting report on them like we have on local schools here. So we're going to have to learn a little bit, on the go. But you know what? Don't let the pressure bother you. I don't want them to be satisfied. I want the goal to be playing for the championship on Saturday night. But whatever happens, go out there and play your best. Do what you've done all season long. And maybe we'll be playing Saturday night.
Coach Schilf, always nice to come out to the ballpark. Good luck to you and the girls.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks for all your support.